Hi, this is Arno from PowerSoft System. Today, I'm going to quickly show you how you can make use of ERPNext to track field services. Okay, so this is the interface of ERPNext, but we will typically make use of two main functionalities. One from the asset to help to manage preventive maintenance, and the other will be under project, whereby we will use tax to handle the actual execution. Okay, so the first part that I will look at is the execution part. Okay, so let's say we go into project, for example. We can expand this and then we can look at typically like tasks. Okay, so you can see I have two main tasks over here that are completed. Okay, so I will just open one of them for you to understand. So if we open this task, for example, the task was a leak repair that was assigned to, of course, it was completed by, let's say, this user Arno, and then this was expected start and end date. So typically you can set those things as from the back office team, and then this is the expected time in hours. So based on how long that task is supposed to be completed, typically the task will be assigned to some employee who will execute the task. So let's say at a particular plant or equipment or machinery, they can typically take their maybe devices. It can be tablets, it can be mobile device, or it can be a kiosk sort of touch screen where they will typically log into the system and fill a timesheet. So this is an example of the one filled by the user and not in this case. So if you look at this timesheet, for example, you will notice that it is having the details like, let me collapse this, for example. It is having the details like the activity type. It was a site inspection, and then they perform a leak repair. This was the from time to time. So let's say the expected hours in this case was not set, but it's fine. But you can see the hours it took to complete this task, right? So typically, that is the timesheet that is linked to the tax. Okay. So based on that, if we have expected time, we will be able to know whether the tax have delayed or have not delayed. And of course, whilst performing the tax, if they have any note that they want to write, there is a note section, and then there is a comment section that they can use it to indicate. So I will give you another timesheet. For example, let's say this user had a timesheet, for example, like this, and you can see over here, whatever details on the timesheet will be there. Okay, so that is typically going back to the various tags that we mentioned. So if we take this site inspection, for example, it also have one timesheet that is logged by this user, and then they have performed the what they need to do as far as this is concerned. So typically, through the timesheet model and the tax, you'll be able to first define the tax. If you want to link it to a project, you can do that. If you do that kind of setup, the next thing is that day to day, as far as you have a site engineer or anybody to go to a particular plan to execute a particular the tax, they will have to fill the timesheet in terms of the hours they have done and the tax that they have performed accordingly, as I've showed you. Based on this, you'll be able to get meaningful report. Like, for example, you can get a report that shows for example, I'll give you an example. For example, if we go to report like this, in a report view like this, we can get this employee, whatever tax they have done. So I think I had one here that I would like to show. Let's take this tax, for example. This person has performed a leak repair. If it is completed or not completed, we'll be able to know. And then the actual start and end time will be able to know, and whoever is assigned to, right? That also said, you can always be able to find delayed tax. Okay, so let's take example. Let's take this as an example. So we can have a report that shows the various delayed tax. So you can ignore the data over here, but typically, if you have whatever tax that you have, you'll be able to track, like, I will give example, like, let's say it's related to site, right? So in this, you can see that, okay, those were other example not related to field services, but let's say there is a site inspection, there is a need to fix a certain valve, those kind of tax will be here, and then you'll be able to know, okay, probably against what project if required, and then the status, you can see it over there, and you can also know the expected start date, expected end date, and then the actual end date. Based on this, we can actually compute whether the tax have delayed, how many times it has delayed in days. If required, we will be able to know. So for example, this tax, it did not delay, it was executed 100% within the same day. But assuming that the tax exceeded 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 2 days, 5 days, yes, we can have that, and we'll be able to track those on track and those that are what delayed, essentially. So yeah, that is for the in terms of the tax and the timesheet. I also want you to understand that when it comes to the timesheet, there is always the option for, just a second, there is always the option to maybe field services, like say this. We can always try to do something like a timer if you want. So let's say this person, they can just simply do this start a timer. So start a timer typically maybe there is a site inspection, or maybe something related to a valve that they need to sort of do, right? So whatever be the activity, if it's a leak repair, they can just let's say start the tax like this. Okay, so when you start a timer like this, what it's doing is that, assuming you want to have 100% automation rule whereby before an execution of a certain tax, then end users may go to a certain device. It could be a mobile device, can be a kiosk model, and then they can start a timer. And then whenever they finish with their tax, they have to come back and either resume the timer, or they have to indicate like they have completed what the tax, right? So that is the part, as far as maybe you want to try to use automatic timer, right? As far as somebody's execution at any time sort of tax, right? All of that is meaning for, you don't want to go through that route. Field service operators or supervisors can directly come into the system and log the hours that are spent on a particular tax. Okay, so that is it. This way they can track delayed tax and the tax status, whether it is overdue, for example, whether what is open, what is working, what is overdue, what is completed. You can get this sort of data. Moving from there, we will quickly delve into the that is the plan maintenance part. Okay, so for that, you can easily go to something like assets, which are the physical assets, for example, and then we will just try to navigate. So let's say we have an asset called, you can ignore all this and focus on this asset, right? The pipeline, okay, that one. So the others are demo databases, demo information. So let's typically look at the maintenance. So you can typically define your maintenance teams, like maybe pipeline maintenance team, and then you can specify who and who are in this and what are their role, right? So once you have defined this, you are good to go. Then you proceed to define the asset maintenance. So over here, an asset maintenance can be scheduled like this. When you come over here, you'll be able to see that, okay, we have a use case whereby we have, so let me collapse this. You can notice that you can see from here that in this particular, it has a maintenance log of 1 is completed, 1 is overdue, and 2 are planned. So what are we looking at over here? Now, there is a schedule that says that, look, we have planned, right, that we will perform a pipeline. So that is the tax. So this can be, let me just expand the weight of this. So let me just make it like column 4 so that we can appreciate. So let's say there's a pressure level check, there's a leak detection inspection. So these are all planned to be executed monthly, and it has been assigned to respective let's say members within the maintenance, within this pipeline maintenance team. So you can have different maintenance team, right? Now, once the plan, so this is more for the planning manager to plan and schedule accordingly, that okay, this is the next due date for this particular maybe maintenance, for this particular what maybe particular asset, which is a pipeline, right? Now, if the planning is done, when it comes to the actual maintenance of, or the execution of the actual plant, it can be managed from here. So you can see over here that if I should collapse this, we're able to see that, okay, on this has been planned for leak inspection, and this is the due date, and this is the periodicity, right? So you'll be able to see from here, which is the managers or planning manager will be able to easily see, or a site engineer will be able to easily see what is completed, overdue, plan, etc. Now, moving from that side, right, they will be able to easily also generate meaningful report like this, for example, like this. And if they want to and if they want to even generate analytics, they can easily come here and say toggle chart, for example. They can just show, probably, it depends, they can say the plant, which is the item in question, and then if they want to add any IXS, so they can easily build their own sort of data, I mean to say, right? Now, if there is the need for any printout also, yes, you can easily get a landscape view of this, where you can see that from here, there's an asset maintenance log to tell any planning manager that, okay, this is completed, this is overdue, this is planned, and then maybe the actions that were performed, they will be able to see, right? And then you can have meaningful chat and analytics on this, like any dashboard that you even need. Now, let's try to open one record. For example, if we open this one that was completed, it tries to indicate that whoever is the person who performed this task will indicate like the action that they have performed. They can use their phone to do. If they have any comment, they can indicate it as well. And then moving from there, if there is anything that is overdue, like I think this one, let's take this one, for example, that also the person can indicate maybe due to some emergency repair, they couldn't do it. And if there is any comment that they want to indicate, they can also show those comments. So you can see here, there's a comment like the scheduled pressure inspection was missed, and there's a potential risk of undetected pressure fluctuations. Remember that in ERPNext, whilst we are making use of the models and functionality to handle field services, you can also make use of like the option to tag a user, like maybe this person, you want to send a comment to them, you can leverage on this. And whenever you assign tags to do's, the system triggers email notifications, and then it can send notifications directly in the system, like system notifications as well. Even if you want SMS alert for tasks assigned to different field services and operators that are overdue, or you want them to be notified, that can also be done accordingly. Yeah. So this are two main key functionalities that you can leverage on the solution to be able to handle your field services, whereby your field engineers can be on site. They can make use of a tablet or a mobile device to log in to update the status of any field operation that they are performing, so that back office managers can also easily get meaningful report like delayed tax summary. We can also integrate this to various plant and equipment to be able to even monitor the live status of it based on the API of the plant, right? Or any equipment that or machinery that may be required. Yeah. So I believe that this video will be very useful. Thank you very much for having the time. I hope to connect with you in another time to bring you useful, valuable content like this. Thank you very much.